If you are watching this episode, you're no doubt interested in growing your cleaning company, driving revenue, and embracing strategies that make this possible. And today I'm pleased to welcome Jordan Tong, the CEO at Frantz Building Services in Owensboro, Kentucky. Jordan, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about sales and growth and all that good stuff.
Everyone's interested in that because challenges abound in the industry. But Jordan, you're going to be presenting at Business Growth Strategies at ISSA headquarters on Wednesday, June 11th. Looking forward to your presentation. I'll be there. I'm going to sit right in the front. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's always a fun time, and nothing is more enjoyable to talk about for me and for the audience than sales and marketing and growth. So,
Absolutely. So your presentation is entitled Janitorial Prospecting, a Rifle Approach to List Building. Maybe you could just talk about the focus of your presentation and share a couple takeaways that those attending are going to be able to use.
as I think about the sales and marketing that happens in our industry, and I'm looking at my own company and mistakes we've made, and then I also do a lot of work with other contractors. People feel a bit lost in sales in terms of like where do I go? Like what specific thing should I be doing? Um, and and so people take what we would call, and I'm from the South, so we hunt and fish down here, and so we call it a shotgun approach to sales. You know that with a shotgun, it's not very powerful, but like at a short distance it is because it spreads out everywhere. So people take a shotgun approach to sales, meaning they do a bunch of different things and they're spending money over here and spending money over here and trying to blast a ton of people, hoping something will stick. And but I think that's the wrong approach in our industry, I think it's maybe more effective in others. And so what I want to hone in on is what we call a rifle approach, in that we're being very targeted in who we're wanting to go after. So in any given market we're in, there's a very limited number of prospects that you'd want to do business with. Like it's a quantifiable number. And so in my session, I want to just talk about the strategy behind this, and then knowing that that's maybe the best way to approach it, how do we build a plan to then execute on?
That sounds fantastic. Now, Jordan, your company has grown. Can you talk about the numbers? Because, what I want to focus in on is how you had a mind shift to go from a small company to where you are today. How does that play into your presentation, and how can others replicate that?
Yeah. So just we had, if I could plot our growth curve uh, on a chart here, it would be slow, slow and steady, and all of a sudden there's an inflection point where it took off. And I'm standing on the shoulders of other people who started the business. I came in when we were about $1.5 million in revenue. But there was a shift in mindset of, hey, we want to grow. And actually, my parents brought me, they sent me off to college and then said, okay, we paid for your school. Now come back and work in the family business. And so my job was to help grow the business initially. And so we just started being very strategic and targeted there. And that became an emphasis for us. And that's when the inflection point started. Not because I'm so wonderful, but because we shifted focus and started focusing on doing that particular thing. And it stayed pretty steady. I mean, we average, during those early growth years, we averaged $500,000 to $1 million a year in new business, and then it's ticked up a little bit. We've had a couple down years, but it's been a good, steady, not crazy explosive or anything, but a good, steady, manageable growth rate that has just improved year over year.
So when you talk about that focus, are you speaking of a certain demographic or type of client?
Yeah, that was, when we started thinking seriously about sales, we did start to have to ask that question, like who is our ideal client? And it's not everybody. This one of the things this is the most helpful question to answer is not who your client is, but knowing specifically who your client is not. And so we had to start asking that question. We started to develop some criteria like, hey, here's who we want to do business with. Here's who we don't want to do business with. And so, yeah, that was the first question that we sales is all like, "Yay, let's go," and then it's like, "Well, where are we going?" So you have to answer
Exactly.
some of those preliminary questions.
I mean, when you think about business, I think there's a lot of companies out there who want to do it all. They want to grow, grow. And you're talking about saying no to
Hmm.
some potential clients. How do you do that?
Yeah. I think you're right. And my tendency as an entrepreneur is, I have what I call shiny stuff syndrome. Like if I see an opportunity, I'm like, oh, that looks, like a squirrel in the road. And so we do have to be disciplined to not do that. But I think having a focus, there's a phrase in the online internet marketing world that says the riches are in the niches. And there's a sense in where when you're able to focus and be really good at one thing, that you're going to be more successful there. So if you're the jack of all trades that does everything, you end up not being great for anybody at anything. And so, that's been, and it is painful. Like, I mean, so for instance, one of our limits has been over the years, like our minimum account size. And we've had healthy debates and butting heads here over what that is. But it is also, we've got maybe I'll be able to bring some of these in June, some charts and graphs that show like as our company has evolved and as we've learned to say no to certain clients and yes to others, we've seen profit margins change in a good way. And we've seen, the mix of employees being fewer part-time and more full-time employees. We've seen a lot of things that have changed based on who we would say yes and no to.
I like that. So I assume you've done presentations to groups in the past.
Yeah, we have. So part of what we do at Elite is it's a coaching group for janitorial contractors.
Mhm.
And we're just sort of we're not a trade association or anything, but we're just people in the industry trying to help other people in the industry. So I spend 90% of my time in Elite now. And one of the things that we do with Elite is we host our own little workshops and we do seminars and trainings and that sort of
Okay.
thing. And one that we have done over and over and over is the sales workshop. And it always would sell out and we'd have our members want to come to it. And so, yeah, it's something, and we've refined it over the years, and we get feedback because we're certainly not perfect, and so we're learning things from other folks as well along the way. But yeah, I enjoy doing this, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to be with you guys in June to do it as well.
We're excited to have you, and I look forward to seeing you at Business Growth Strategies. I'll be there. Like I said, maybe right in the front row, maybe with a camera in your face. We'll see what happens.
All right, I'll do my best. I'll try not to get nervous.
Well, Jordan, thank you for this and the little preview of what you have to offer at Business Growth Strategies in June. Talk to you then.
Thanks, Jeff.